Have you ever walked into a room and completely forgotten why you went in there? Or stared at a familiar face, struggling to remember their name, even though you've known them for years? These little slips happen to all of us. But when they start happening more often, a quiet fear begins to grow. Is this just normal aging? Or something more serious? The truth is, cognitive decline doesn't just affect memory, it touches every part of who we are. Our independence, our relationships, our sense of self. But what if I told you that science has already discovered real, practical ways to protect and even strengthen the brain? No miracle cures, no expensive treatments, just daily habits, simple, proven, and backed by decades of research that can slow down and, in many cases, prevent cognitive decline. In this video, you'll learn exactly what those habits are. We'll explore the foods that nourish your brain, the physical activities that build new neural connections, the kind of deep sleep that restores memory and focus, and the surprising power of social connection and lifelong learning. Everything is grounded in evidence from leading health institutions. No fluff, no fads. You'll meet Margaret, 73, who changed her eating habits after losing her mother to Alzheimer's and within months felt sharper and more focused than she had in years. And Robert, who believed it was too late to change, until he discovered that even at 78, the brain is still listening, still growing, still healing. Over the next hour, we'll walk you through the mind diet, brain-friendly exercises, sleep hygiene tips, and cognitive stimulation strategies. We'll explain how managing conditions like diabetes, hypertension, and depression plays a critical role in keeping your mind clear and resilient. This is not just about what to do, it's about how to do it, step by step. This video isn't about fear, it's about power, the power of choice. Because neuroscience has made one thing clear. Yes, the brain ages, but it also adapts. It can rewire itself, form new pathways, and stay sharp well into our later years if we give it the chance. So take a deep breath, settle in, and join us on this journey. Habit by habit, we'll build a path toward clarity, vitality, and a sharper tomorrow. Because protecting your brain means protecting everything that makes you you. It's often said that you are what you eat, and when it comes to your brain, that couldn't be more true. What we put on our plates can directly influence how our brains function, age, and defend themselves against disease. In fact, researchers have found strong connections between certain diets and a reduced risk of Alzheimer's and other forms of dementia. And among all the approaches studied, one has consistently stood out: the MIND diet. MIND stands for Mediterranean-Intervention for Neurodegenerative Delay. It combines the heart-healthy elements of the Mediterranean diet with the blood pressure-lowering effects of the DASH diet. But more importantly, it was designed specifically to support brain health. What does it include? Leafy green vegetables, berries, nuts, olive oil, whole grains, beans, and fatty fish like salmon, foods rich in antioxidants, omega-3s, and anti-inflammatory properties. These nutrients help protect brain cells from damage, reduce inflammation in the nervous system, and support healthy blood flow, all essential for keeping the brain sharp. Take Margaret, for example. At 73, she'd started forgetting appointments, losing track of conversations, and repeating questions. Nothing alarming, but enough to worry her children. After learning about the MIND diet from a community health program, she started making small changes: spinach in her breakfast omelet, blueberries with yogurt in the afternoon, fish on Sundays instead of red meat. After just a few months, she felt more alert, more focused, and even her mood lifted. The science backs up her experience. A major study funded by the National Institute on Aging found that people who closely followed the MIND diet had a 53% lower risk of developing Alzheimer's disease. Even those who followed it only moderately saw a 35% risk reduction. That's not a coincidence, that's biology responding to nourishment. But brain protective nutrition isn't just about what to eat, it's also about what to avoid. The MIND diet recommends limiting red meats, fried foods, pastries, butter, and cheese. These foods can increase inflammation and oxidative stress, both of which accelerate brain aging. Now, this isn't about perfection. You don't have to overhaul your entire pantry overnight. It's about consistency over time. Try replacing butter with olive oil. Choose brown rice instead of white. Snack on a handful of almonds instead of chips. Each small step contributes to a bigger outcome. Food can be powerful medicine, and every meal is a new opportunity to feed not just your body but your brain. When we think about exercise, we often picture strong muscles, a healthy heart, maybe even a slimmer waistline. But what many people don't realize is that regular physical activity is just as vital for the brain, and in some cases, even more so. The brain thrives on movement. When we walk, swim, dance, or stretch, we increase blood flow to the brain, which delivers oxygen and vital nutrients. This circulation supports the growth of new neurons, especially in areas tied to memory and learning, like the hippocampus. Studies have shown that older adults who exercise regularly actually grow brain volume in regions most vulnerable to decline. But the benefits go beyond anatomy. Physical activity stimulates the release of brain-derived neurotrophic factor, or BDNF, a powerful protein that encourages the survival of brain cells and the formation of new neural connections. Think of it like fertilizer for the mind. In one landmark study funded by the National Institute on Aging, adults over 60 who walked briskly for just 40 minutes 3 times a week experienced significant improvements in memory function compared to those who remained sedentary. Other research shows that strength training, even light resistance bands, can improve executive function, attention span, and mood. And the best part? You don't need a gym membership or intense routines. Even light activities, gardening, stretching, climbing stairs, dancing in your living room can offer real cognitive benefits if done consistently. Robert, age 78, used to spend most of his days sitting. He struggled with forgetfulness and brain fog, and often felt sluggish. After his doctor recommended daily walking, he began with 5 minutes around the block. That turned into 10, then 15. Within 2 months, his family noticed the change: sharper conversations, quicker thinking, a new spark in his energy. It's important to find movement that fits your body, your schedule, and your joy. Chair yoga, Tai Chi, aqua aerobics, resistance bands while watching TV. If you have limited mobility, work with a physical therapist to design a safe plan. Every motion matters. Because movement isn't just about staying active, it's about staying connected to yourself, to your body, your memories, your thoughts. When you move, your brain wakes up. It learns, it grows, and it thanks you. We often think of sleep as a time when the body simply rests. But for the brain, sleep is one of the most active and essential processes of all. During deep sleep, especially in the REM and slow wave stages, the brain performs critical housekeeping tasks. It consolidates memories, processes emotions, and clears out waste products through a system known as the glymphatic pathway. One of these waste products is beta amyloid, the same protein that accumulates in the brains of people with Alzheimer's disease. So, when sleep is shallow, fragmented, or too short, the brain doesn't get the chance to cleanse itself or organize new information. Over time, poor sleep can impair attention, decision-making, and memory and increase the risk of long-term cognitive decline. Unfortunately, many older adults struggle with sleep, insomnia, sleep apnea, restless legs, frequent nighttime urination. These issues can all disrupt rest. But they aren't just inconveniences, they're signals, and they deserve attention. Meet June, a 76-year-old retired teacher who began forgetting details, repeating herself, and feeling emotionally drained. It turned out she had undiagnosed sleep apnea. Once treated with a SPAP machine, her energy and clarity improved dramatically, as did her confidence. So, how can we protect our sleep and, with it, our brain? First, establish a consistent routine. Go to bed and wake up at the same time every day, even on weekends. Create a sleep-friendly environment, cool, dark, and quiet. Remove electronics at least an hour before bed. Avoid caffeine after midday, and be mindful of alcohol, which can fragment sleep even if it helps you fall asleep faster. Gentle rituals like warm baths, soft music, or reading a physical book can signal to your brain that it's time to wind down. If worry or anxiety is keeping you up, try journaling before bed or practicing deep breathing techniques. And if snoring, gasping, or excessive daytime sleepiness are part of your experience, talk to a doctor. Sleep disorders are common, treatable, and deeply impactful. Sleep is not a luxury, it's a foundation. A night of deep rest is a gift to your memory, your mood, your brain, and it's never too late to reclaim it. The brain, much like a muscle, must be used regularly to stay strong. The old saying, use it or lose it, is more than just a phrase, it's a neurological truth. When we engage in mentally stimulating activities, we encourage the brain to form new connections, strengthen existing ones, and even compensate for areas affected by aging. This concept is called cognitive reserve, the brain's ability to adapt, reroute, and maintain function even when under stress. Cognitive stimulation doesn't require a PAAHDAADDDDHEHE or hours of homework. It simply means keeping your mind active and challenged. Reading books, learning a new skill, solving puzzles, playing a musical instrument, engaging in meaningful conversations. Even playing card games or doing a crossword puzzle at breakfast can support brain health. Consider Leo, 80 years old, who had never used a computer before retirement. When his granddaughter gifted him a tablet, he started with simple memory games. Then he joined an online history course, then a virtual book club. He now reads more, socializes more, and feels mentally sharper than he did 10 years ago. The brain thrives on novelty. When we learn something new, whether it's a language, recipe, or hobby, our brain literally lights up with new activity. This stimulation boosts neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to reorganize and adapt throughout life. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to be curious. Technology can help. There are excellent brain training apps, virtual museum tours, and online classes specifically designed for older adults. But don't overlook the analog tools: puzzles, knitting, painting, gardening, storytelling. Cognitive stimulation also includes emotional and sensory experiences: music, art, laughter, movement. Social interaction is especially powerful. Conversations force the brain to listen, respond, adapt, all in real time. Group games, clubs, and intergenerational activities offer not just stimulation but connection, and the two often go hand in hand. If you've ever felt that your mind isn't what it used to be, don't give up. Your brain hasn't stopped learning, it may just need an invitation. Something new, something interesting, something meaningful, because your brain is still listening, still growing, still capable of wonder. In a world where cognitive decline is often feared, one of the most powerful forms of protection comes not from a pill, a machine, or a special diet, but from something deeply human: connection. Staying socially engaged is more than just enjoyable, it's protective. Research consistently shows that loneliness and social isolation increase the risk of dementia by as much as 50%. That's the same level of risk associated with physical inactivity or heavy smoking. Why? Because when we interact with others, our brains are challenged in complex, dynamic ways. We listen, interpret tone, respond, empathize, remember details, adapt. These interactions light up multiple brain regions, keeping cognitive circuits strong and active. But it's not just about brain function. Social connection boosts mood, reduces stress, lowers inflammation, and supports healthier lifestyle choices overall. It creates purpose, something the aging brain responds to with vitality. Meet Evelyn, 81, who lost her husband and began spending most of her days in silence. She felt her memory slipping. Her energy faded. After encouragement from her daughter, she joined a local senior choir. She didn't know anyone, and the first weeks were hard. But slowly, she made friends. She laughed again. Her voice returned, and so did her mental clarity. Connection doesn't have to be grand. A phone call with a friend, volunteering once a week, attending church services, or joining a book club, sharing a hobby with grandchildren. Even small interactions, chatting with a neighbor, smiling at a cashier, send powerful signals to the brain. You belong, you matter, you're not alone. If mobility or geography makes connection difficult, technology can help. Video calls, online discussion groups, virtual exercise classes all can bring meaningful interaction into your home. For some, even writing letters or voice messages rekindles connection and stimulates memory. It's never too late to build relationships. And no, it's not selfish to seek companionship. It's healthy, essential, and life-affirming. The brain is not just a thinking machine. It's a social organ wired for interaction. And when it's nurtured by connection, it doesn't just survive, it thrives. When we talk about brain health, we often focus on what we can do directly for the mind: food, exercise, sleep, mental stimulation. But there's another critical piece of the puzzle: how we manage the rest of the body. Chronic conditions like high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, and depression have all been linked to faster cognitive decline and increased risk of dementia. Why? Because the brain is deeply connected to every system in the body. What happens in the heart, in the blood vessels, in the immune system, it all affects the brain. Take high blood pressure, for example. Over time, It can damage small blood vessels in the brain, reducing oxygen and nutrients to vital regions. This process, called vascular dementia, can cause problems with memory, thinking speed, and judgment. Diabetes, too, affects cognition. Elevated blood sugar over time leads to inflammation and damage to the brain's structure and function. People with type 2 diabetes are up to 60% more likely to develop Alzheimer's disease. But the good news is that proper management through medication, diet, and activity can significantly lower that risk. And then there's mental health, a factor often overlooked, yet deeply influential. Depression, anxiety, and chronic stress don't just weigh on emotions. They alter brain chemistry, shrink certain brain regions over time, and impair memory and attention. Left untreated, depression in older adults can mimic and even accelerate cognitive decline. We must stop separating brain health from emotional and physical health. They are one and the same. Now consider George, 79, who had lived with hypertension and mild depression for years. He often felt forgetful and foggy. After working with his doctor to adjust his medications and begin talk therapy, his clarity returned. He began painting again and laughing more. Managing chronic conditions isn't about perfection. It's about partnership with your doctor, your caregiver, your own body. It means taking medications as prescribed, monitoring your numbers, attending checkups, and speaking up when something feels off physically or emotionally. It's also about daily habits, reducing salt and sugar, staying hydrated, moving your body, getting sunlight, finding purpose, asking for support when needed. Because the brain is not isolated. It lives in a body, and that body needs care. Your health history doesn't define your future. And no matter your age, no matter your diagnosis, there is always room to strengthen, to stabilize, and to hope. What if the future of your mind isn't written yet? What if the most important influence on your brain isn't genetics, but the choices you make starting today and tomorrow and the day after that? Throughout this journey, we've seen that cognitive decline is not inevitable. It is not the final chapter. In fact, for many, it's a call to action, a reminder that the brain is living tissue, dynamic, resilient, and full of potential. The food you eat can protect your neurons. The way you move can strengthen your memory. The sleep you prioritize can cleanse and reset your mental clarity. The people you connect with, the thoughts you nurture, the conditions you manage, all of it builds a safer, stronger landscape within your brain. This isn't about achieving perfection or reversing time. It's about honoring your mind, tending to it with care, giving it the nutrients, rest, movement, and love it needs to keep being you. And it's never too late. Not at 60, not at 70, not at 90. Because every moment you choose to care for your brain, every step, every salad, every conversation, every night of good sleep, you're not just protecting your memory. You're preserving your independence, your joy, your sense of self. So take a deep breath. Feel the hope that science offers. And remember, your brain, at this very moment, is still changing, still listening, still capable of growth, and you exactly as you are have the power to protect it. Let this be the beginning of a new chapter, one where clarity, vitality, and peace of mind guide your path forward. Your brain is worth it, and so are you.